over this last weekend here, Pirate Software had some very interesting things to say about me and my Discord, like accusations that I was allowing people to openly dox Pirate Software in my Discord server, and he provides screenshots as proof. So I figured for this video, why not go over every single thing that he said about me and my Discord and see if Pirate Software is right about these claims. But before that, I'm feeling a bit chilly. Let me get into uniform. They screwed up the brim. It's like oblong. I'm the milkman, and here I am yet again, ready to milk this cow. Now, all jokes aside, this weekend was pretty stressful, and that's because I was under the impression that I received a cease and desist from Pirate Software and a follow-up email saying that they were going to be going forward with legal action. Now, as it turned out, neither of those were actually Pirate Software. Some troll ended up sending those, and completely pulling the wool over my eyes, I genuinely believed it was an actual cease and desist. And so I was working with a lawyer to communicate with Pirate Software lawyers and go through what I thought to be the beginning of that process. And at first, I did think it was a fake cease and desist, but one of the things that they mentioned, which Pirate Software also mentioned, was that I was going to be, accused with doxing Pirate Software. And I was doubtful, but then followed up after I finally read that message, Pirate Software went on this huge tirade, putting in his announcements on his public Discord all about that apparently I've been cultivating and allowing a community that doxes Pirate Software. So with those two things so close together, I just took it at face value and acted accordingly, which meant that I shut up. There's a second part to the interview that I had with the Blizzard employee that was also a roommate of Pirate Software's, which will be going live probably tomorrow here. But that was paused, as well as the response to anything that he was saying, because I needed to speak with a lawyer first, get it all figured out, and now that we have, we can talk. What did Pirate Software accuse me of? Now, for the most part here, when we're looking at the timestamps, just go ahead and look at the day, because I've been receiving screenshots of all of this from various different people in different time zones. So Pirate Software in his Discord did an @everyone context. A content creator called Quintheo is continuously farming ad revenue by making false claims and drama content about me. Recently, he claimed that Kronos broke TOS by giving bit/subs to the Giga Train in April. Kronos used his own money to do this, and he can do whatever he likes with that money. Below is some information with receipts about all that to refute the false claims about the situation. This creator has changed his entire brand into Pirate Software hate content for profit as shown in image 4. Number 1, prior to this year's April 1st Giga Train going live, I made the announcement that I would be receiving 0% of the profits. Of the profits from the train, 50% would be going to the moderation team and 50% would be given to the ferret rescue. This announcement was made on March 29th, 2025, so the community was well informed of this. You can find this attached as image 1. The total income from the Giga Train was $75,000, rounded up to the nearest thousand. This means that half the train was $37,500, and that amount was then split 15 ways to all the staff besides myself. This means each staff member received $2,500. This was announced to the community on April 9th, 2025. You can find this attached as image_2. Kronos threw 75,000 bits, 100 tier 1 subs, and 40 tier 3 subs during the Giga Train at around level 60+. He bought all of these in Great British pounds, I think, which came out to 2,085 pounds or $2,815 after conversions. You can find these transactions attached as image 3. And he continues on number 4. Further, subs are not a one-to-one conversion and neither are bits. Subs come out to about 68% of the overall contribution coming through, and bits normally are 82% when purchased in USD. However, doing this through GBP makes the conversion much worse. This means you're spending 295 pounds or $399 to get $250 in bits, which is a 62% conversion rate. So in total, Kronos spent $2,800 to add approximately $1,830 if we assume a generous 65% conversion, which means in total, Kronos spent $2,800 to add $1,800 to the value of the Giga Train, which was then cut in half to $915 because half was given to the rescue, and split 15 ways to all staff members as $61. All staff are paid in USD and must convert to their own currency, which is another loss on top of this. Each conversion reduces the total income of any staff member that wishes to do this. TLDR, no, Kronos was not directed to do this. No, he was not compensated for this. Yes, he lost money doing this. No, the Twitch terms of service was not broken. No matter how many people try to claim otherwise, you now have the receipts and math to prove this. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So now let's go over that real quick again. I'm just going to address a couple of things. Firstly here, he said recently he claimed that Kronos broke terms of service by giving bit/subs to the Giga Train in April. Kronos used his own money to do this and can do what he likes with that money. And at the very end here, he's referencing the same thing. No, Kronos was not directed to do this, etc. No, the Twitch terms of service was not broken. Now, he doesn't at all refute any of the accusations that I had made, and I should say speculatory accusations, which I'll show you in a moment. And honestly, he doesn't need to address those because I put out 2 separate videos, one of which where I go through each point I made of possible Twitch terms of service breakages with an actual ex-Twitch employee who tells me I'm wrong in every single one of those ways. So here's where that segment starts, where I start addressing each of the terms of service things I was pointing out. And I'm just going to show you a few clips from her responses and then me reacting to that. Even with that kind of like thought process, that doesn't change the fact that at a fundamental level on the Twitch service, it was not a direct exchange for finances.
That's what I'm worried about. Like, that's the way that Twitch should enforce it, but that's not how this is written.
Okay.
That's the massive thing about the terms of service. These are the things that I was constantly fighting while I was at the company, because they need to be more explicit about this. Because yes, they are making these bits donations in lieu of a payout later on. Like, they know they're going to get paid back. They didn't send 10,000 bits for an Apple gift card.
That's all this is planned to cover.
It is seriously messed up. Yeah.
Okay, well, totally fair. So in my head, when I see viewership inflation, that for me also at that time included a hype train's level, because you would assume the assumption is those are the viewers that are donating in, and that isn't the moderators, that isn't, you know, working together to do that.
I wish. Part of viewership tampering is anything that can play into your stream analytics. So we're talking things like chat activity. Like, that is another metric that can be tampered with.
Is revenue from donations not considered?
No, because it's not viewership.
Interesting.
That's just straight revenue.
Misrepresenting the source, identity, or content of information transmitted via the Twitch services. You misrepresented. He faked being somebody else.
Yeah, and sadly, this tends to only work the opposite direction. So lying upward is what you get in trouble for. Lying downward, you do not get in trouble for. And they see that as trying to protect your real identity. So it's not hiding who you are because I'm a moderator and I can't let people know I'm a moderator. They see that as, yes, you want to not have people know that you're a moderator. So
those were clips showcasing each separate point that I had made originally when I was speculating and saying, hey, we're waiting to hear back from someone who we reached out to that worked at Twitch. And on top of that, this is how I ended our interview. And I mean this. Thank you, because these are corrections to the arguments that I made. But more than that, it's very good to know that, like, a bit of an understanding of the intentions of these TOS guidelines as opposed to how I interpreted them based on the situation. It's cool to know that that's where they're coming from, and it makes more sense given the context. So to my complete and utter dismay, I was wrong about every single Twitch terms of service. Where I thought it could be broken, it ends up being that the reason that those were written the way that they were was for a completely different reason. And honestly, I kind of expected that I'd at least be wrong on a couple of them, but, you know, maybe I guess not all of them. But it's good to know why these terms of service were written the way they were. Moreover, why there probably isn't going to be any consequences sent pirates' way from Twitch. I think that that was ample enough proof that I for sure clarified that I was wrong about those speculations and made it pretty damn clear. But not only that, I also clarified that in the video that I covered with Legal Mindset. Really quick, just wanted to show you how I prefaced this part in the original video. Pirate Software just got caught. This is where I bring up the potential terms of service breakage. This is what I say. Now let's talk about that Twitch terms of service and if this is breaching that terms of service. Now this hinges on the hypothesis that Kronos is getting paid back by Pirate through these bit donations that he did. And again, reached out to see if someone from Twitch can actually better clarify if any terms of service were broken. So at this moment, this is all just speculation and I don't have any other confirmation. Now you can call me whatever you'd like. You can call me a milkman. You can call me a drama farmer. I don't really care. But if you want to say that I was fully claiming that you broke Twitch terms of service and was acting like that was a fact, I'd love to see that proof. But also, here's that Legal Mindset clip. This isn't, I'm not trying to ask you to speculate, but it's very interesting to see the fact that this isn't. So coming from, and you haven't seen it, so I'm not expecting you to know about it, but the essential understanding about the terms of service and why they're written as they were was to protect and mitigate from like direct examples of fraud. So for instance, that exchange of bits for real currency that we were kind of talking about, it's not even the idea that Kronos understood that he might be receiving a payment back. It's just, did you donate the bits to receive an Apple gift card? Like that,
Right.
like that's the bare bones, is this a almost like a telecom scam kind of thing, and protecting
Yeah,
themselves from that. So I think it's fair to say, yeah, I made it very clear. As a matter of fact, I was clarifying to Legal Mindset about what the Twitch terms of service meant per my, learning from the ex-Twitch employee to make sure that we were on the same page. Going back to Pirate's announcement, he says, prior to this year's April 1st Giga Train going live, I made the announcement that I would be receiving 0% of the profits. So all of these messages here, this announcement was made on March 29th. So 2 days before the hype train went live, and he's saying the community was well informed with this. Very interesting. Now, the funny thing about that is that's the message that I was showing Legal Mindset in this video. Here's that message right here. I show them this information. A large point of my video was showcasing that info of you making that announcement. We were showing that to showcase that, yeah, Kronos had incentive to raise a lot of money. On top of that, I made a point in this video to say, hey, if he just started with this and said, hey, this was this public announcement, people knew, and it was made clear even in the VOD that we looked at together, I wouldn't have made that video with Legal Mindset, but he didn't do that. Instead, he just backed up and said Kronos can do what he wants with his own money. He's a grown man. If he wants to give money back to his boss immediately after receiving a paycheck, that's totally fine, and I don't see anything scummy or strange or shady with the fact that my moderator on an alternate account was donating and was just full on in that same TTS. Like, what's weird about that? But again, just check out this video and you will get truly all the information that he's pointing out, as well as the other stuff that I tackle with Legal Mindset, where we go into talking about the Federal Trade Commission and deceptive business practices, and how Kronos, by keeping the train alive in the DMs, was potentially doing something of that nature. Now you can see down here at the bottom of his message, those are the receipts in the bottom left, the announcement I just showed you on the top left, and then him talking about the 75,000 from the Giga Train. And then the bottom right is just a screenshot of my channel, which has kind of gone around a bit. Now, as for me being a pirate software hate channel, anybody can just look at the titles and thumbnails of my videos, and because of that, I've shown up on Asmongold streams, I've shown up on Tectone, on YouTube Reddit, on YouTube Drama. Atozy just made a video also talking about what I'm sharing today. And if you just look at the titles and thumbnails, I don't blame you. I look like every other drama slop tuber that's out there. I have just happened to have been posting just about every single day. Now, the reason for that is not because I have some deep-rooted hate for pirate software. It's because I believe that every time there's an update, there's an audience that is interested to hear about that update, and there's enough in it that I can make a full-length video going into it. As a matter of fact, if you go on Twitter or these Reddit threads and you find one of these posts talking about my videos or screenshotting them, there's a lot of people in the comments saying, hey, I know the thumbnails are bad, I know the titles are bad, but if you actually watch the content, it's incredibly useful. He's not rehashing things. He's actually being very objective. He's giving credit to Pirate where it's due. But yeah, a good chunk of my content is going and looking at the behavior or actions that Pirate Software has been taking and being critical about it, because there's things to be critical about. Matter of fact, we had to freeze the Pirate Software drama thread on our Discord for a little bit because people were being shitty for no reason. And I addressed it in this message. I just want to read a few excerpts here. So we had to pause the drama thread and make some adjustments, as we have about 3x the people we had just a week and a half ago. The moderators we have here have, for the most part, not had to deal with this kind of workload in truly over a year. I wasn't available as we had some shit happen earlier this morning. I apologize for this and sorry for needing to restrict the channel momentarily while we sorted that out and I was caught up on the events. Again, I'm sorry for mistakes made by the mod team and that we had to resort to freezing discussion. Don't plan to ever have to do this again, as I really value the useful discussion and information gathering you guys have helped a lot with. I really love the community we're cultivating, want to keep that going. And so I go on talking about, hey, if a mod is telling you to do something or to stop doing something, you stop doing it because people weren't being respectful of our moderators. I then talk about separating our mega drama thread, so information, which is now a bit slower, and this one that has memes so that people can kind of lay back and just shoot the shit and they can talk about, gripes that they have or just any other surrounding information. And then specifically down here, I say, I want to reiterate that although, for example, with the Pirate Software drama, there has been actions Pirate has taken that people hate, this is not a hate Discord server. You can disagree and criticize the actions without being hateful 24/7. As per my videos, I'm going to agree with the guy where it makes sense, and mainly just do my best to give you all the info. If you choose to hate the guy, go for it, completely your decision. But on this server, try to keep the shitting on someone constantly to a minimum, outside of them, of course, doing something worth shitting on. Also, don't go hopping in his stream to say crazy shit or fuck with him or his fans. It just isn't worth it. Don't harass any of the people I cover, that's lame. Let their actions speak for themselves, and if you really don't like the person, especially an online figure like Pirate, just don't engage. Not watching is infinitely better than giving them free engagement by leaving a message. And then down here, you guys can see that I have this edited. Let me hover over that timestamp. So this was the same day that this was posted, July 22nd. 3:04 p.m. I corrected it at 3:18 to change because we changed the names of the channels. Originally, the two channels were named Main and Discussion, and that was a bit confusing, so we changed them to Info and Memes. Those were the edits. Now, just really quick, Kronos, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just send me a screenshot of that timestamp you can hover over like I just did to show me when you edited those previous messages that you sent me to get more context about your guys' messages. I could be wrong, but it looks like you unfriended me on Discord. So I'm just hoping, if you don't want to do it through that, just at me on Twitter, any way that you can get it in front of my eyes. Would really appreciate it and could clarify a bit more for you. But now let's dive into the nitty gritty, the stuff you came for. Pirate Software directly accused me, my moderation team, and community. Now I'm going to start this off by reading through all of his messages, and then I'll show you guys the screenshots that he sent in as well, and then we'll go into this. Now for the 1-2 punch against this, Now for the 1-2 punch against this bullshit. Quintheo's Discord has people actively doxing me in it. His moderation team is aware of this and has been encouraging it as shown in the images. They've also been digging into Shay and her job as a secondary attack vector. In image 1, Shelf Related, who is a mod, asks for doxing info directly. We forwarded all of this to Discord Trust and Safety as a result. We've also banned all of the users that were taking part of this from our Discord. Screenshots below with the images blocked out. Now he's directly addressing me here, and I'll show why. It's because I was putting messages out in my Discord at the same time that he was doing this on his, because I was getting screenshots sent, and he says, "No, Quintheo, my address is not public information, and your users are distributing it on your Discord while the mods encourage it. They didn't just go after me and Shay either, they went after our moderation team too, as shown here. You cannot bullshit this away. Leave me and my team the fuck alone." Very intense accusations that my community was doxing Pirate Software in my Discord and that my mods were actively encouraging it. Jeez, it would be a shame if every point that he made here had ample screenshots and evidence to show the direct opposite. That would be a bummer, wouldn't it? Well, for somebody. So this is the first screenshot that he sent in. And so Amplifox here says, "Fuck, I can't even redact everything except the quote because just searching it on Google leads directly to it, lol." And so here's Steampunk Ollie in my Discord says, "So it's a publicly available document?" Amplifox says, "Yes." Ollie responds that anyone could find. And then Nico Zero responded here, "Consider sending this privately to a mod if you're that concerned." Then Amplifox says, "But it includes info on Shay's job, which I don't like linking to." Following below that, someone responding says, "Tell the keywords we do the searching, that's fine as well." And then Shelf down here at the bottom says, "Send it specifically to me so I can get the tea earlier than everyone." Now what I've decided to do is I jumped back a little bit further behind the screenshot that Pirate Software showed in his video to show you guys a bit of more context and what the community was thinking about when this information was coming up. So that same person, they've changed their name, but this is that same profile picture. They're saying, "I'm seeing something saying the ferret rescue was formed in 2019, but the stream didn't start until 2023. Is this known?" A little bit of further context, they were going into the fact that the ferret rescue that Pirate Software has isn't listed under as a 501c, or it's not registered, something along those lines. Again, I'm not super sure. I haven't done a deep dive into it myself. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's what they were going into detail about. And that's what included Shay, since Shay is a part of the team taking care of those ferrets at the rescue. I believe she's an employee for it. But that same person says the source is a bit too much of a dox for me to feel comfortable linking, but it would be information from Shay. Ollie responds, "Do you mean information Shay has given you or that has been found by someone else? What's the significance of the 4-year gap?" They respond, "Information given to a third party by Shay and released as a sort of mini bio." Ollie says, "Okay, what if any significance is there?" They say the time frame of the creation of the ferret rescue, and they said, "Yeah, but what are we thinking the 4-year gap means?" They say, "Wasn't someone paying to see registration of rescues, so to give them a timeline to look for? Wasn't the idea that it was founded recently the reason they believe it wasn't in their list?" I don't exactly know what this message is, but they continue down. And Ollie says, "So I'd suggest if you think it's genuinely valuable information, it should go in the main thread. And I think if you're trying to provide useful information, context is important." So Ollie says, "I think most of us here had no idea what you were trying to indicate with what you were saying." And then this person here also said, "Also side note, why are we still fixated on someone who isn't a part of the drama other than being a ferret herder / PS girlfriend or whatever, especially if you're getting into doxing territory?" 4 people gave that an upvote there. And then another community member here says, "If you're that worried about posting your info for fear of potential doxing, it's probably not worth it, mate. Editor Connor here just wanted to provide a side note and also show you that, yeah, we are still taking this seriously. Nico Zero and Steampunk Ollie have actually been brought on as mods as well, because they've showcased and gone above and beyond and have been very vocal about making sure that people aren't sending docs information, or even if they believe it's going to be close to something of that nature. These guys did an excellent job at, you know, being on top of that. We really appreciate it, and we think that they'd be a great help to us. Just wanted to throw that in there, let you guys know. Sorry for the context interruption, but back to the video. And then someone else here said, pretty sure he said he wasn't posting the info at all to begin with, so it wasn't ever getting posted. And you can see here the community itself is going, okay, but let's keep it level here. We don't like doxing. Nico here says, right, so why even mention it? If it's that hot and from what he's told us, very little value, seems high risk, low reward for me. And they reply back themselves, the info itself isn't bad, just the source is too much to justify what little would be gleaned from it. Basically, that there has been a claim from Shay that they started the rescue in 2019. And then Ollie, here again, I'm not trying to be a dick to you, by the way. My point is just that giving unspecific information with no context just opens things up for misinterpretation and adding confusion. So general advice, if you think it's of value, be clear and specific so people can understand and follow up. And they said, I don't know, guess I just wanted to put out what I thought had any value, then table the source. And so again, they continued asking, what do you think the value is? None. And then Nico again here saying, don't post links that may dox, as Amplifox has alluded to. And even someone here saying, do you have any links to that source, talking to them? And so this person sarcastically back, lol, what? He said he won't post because it might be a dox. So please post the dox so we can verify. And then this is where we get into what was screenshotted. So it's a publicly available document. Yes, that anyone could find. Continuing on. And so the message here was deleted. It was deleted by the individual that had posted it. That was not us. And then we have Shelf here saying, send it specifically to me so I can get the tea earlier than everyone. Then you're going to see him riffing with that person. Shelf about to get 300 pics of my butthole, and him sending this. Shelf is a jokester. He's a shitter. He says stupid stuff. Matter of fact, I even called him out a little bit like a week or two ago because our Discord went from like 500 members to 1,500. So there was a huge jump. And we had a conversation being like, hey, we can't always, you know, just be shooting this shit or saying something like this because it can get taken out of context and misconstrued now, like it literally just has. Shelf is not a very serious person. And so him saying, send it specifically to me so I can get the tea earlier than everyone is very on par for the course. For example, here is Shelf saying, move on from the topic before I circumcise you next. Next up, another separate time. Hey, I get we do have a little bit of justified hate against Pirate, but let's not cyberbully someone because we're suspicious that they're a potential spy. That's my job. Next one here, how many spies do you have in Pirate's Discord? Exactly 12,102. -1 just died. And then we have this one here. It was a gentleman here saying, I think I'm the bad guy. I made the video debunking the fridge video, etc., etc. And Shelf responded, yeah, it is your bad. I'll see you in the ban appeals. Also, everything you're seeing from my mod Shelf, all of these are 12 hours ahead. So if you're noticing the timestamps look a bit wonky, he's 12 hours ahead of my time here. So if you're seeing things like, oh, this happened on the same day, or this like somehow happened a day after Pirate said something or anything like that, that's how you know. If you're seeing screenshots with those timestamps, it's because I received them from Shelf or from other people in my Discord. But I'd already spoken with Shelf because I was getting a bit nervous about, you know, him making jokes and how that could be taken out of context, because he does. He acts like a shithead. And that's just how he's been. He's been with me since literally a year ago now, and he's the longest standing mod that I've had in this community. But not just that, let me show you how Shelf, you know, one of our moderators, reacted to seeing that information and talking about what is a potential dox. Now, I've been throwing around this word a lot, doxing, so I think it's best to continue this by first addressing and defining exactly what doxing is. So this is coming directly from Merriam-Webster. And this is dox, to publicly identify or publish private information about someone, especially as a form of punishment or revenge. With that being defined, I'm going to show you guys the messages between Shelf and this person. You know, he's like, oh, give me the tea. Now, sometimes you're going to see these messages blocked by this, and that is Shelf just showcasing the timestamps of when he edited these messages, because we're not trying to make it seem like he went back and changed things to make himself look better. He's just showing when these were edited. I'm assuming it was typos, things like that. Again, take it for what it's worth, but he's just showcasing when he was editing these messages. So this is that intro message here. So they say, like I said, I don't know if there is much, but the 2019 claim seemed a little interesting because I've never seen it before. Obviously, doxing Shay's job is super scummy, so don't share it or I'll never send you butthole pics. Shelf says, yeah, better not. Sending this over will be getting us into really weird territories and might bring another JOP to harass people for more info. Now, this JOP that they're referring to is a guy that was on our Discord that was trying to push people to give him private information information that other people might have had about pirate software. They go on to say, I found it because I was just looking into ferret rescues in Washington, and then they go into depth comparing this rescue to others, and I'll block it out just for the sake of doing it. And then Shelf says, I would like to ask about the relevance of looking into Shay's background though. This is probably public information, but I would want to know if it's even appropriate to talk about. They responded back, kind of a rabbit hole stemming from trying to see if Jason's rescue is even a registered rescue. Continuing on, Shelf says, I see. I don't know if that is 100% relevant. Getting into really scary territories. I don't believe PS is a saint, but I feel like digging into this, I'm assuming he says digging into this in particular might land us in hot water. Shelf says, yeah, better keep this on the down low just in case some of this information is relevant. I know Shay is involved with PS, but unless I'm missing some information, I don't think her personal life should be digged into since she's not particularly involved with this subset of drama. This person then makes an allegation, which I can't confirm or anything like that, so I'm just gonna keep it blocked. Shelf responded, here's him showcasing that timestamp for when this was edited. Yeah, I think better not involve their information into the situation because blank probably comes off of being creepy, and we don't want people thinking this community will go on witch hunts to anyone involved closely with pirate. They said everything I say has been generated by AI. I think that's like them trying to like cover their side or something. I don't know. And then Shelf says, gotcha. So in the case of Shelf related, I think I would consider that a very respectful exchange of conversation there and saying, yeah, this probably isn't a good idea to post since by their own admission, this was publicly doxing Shay's job. I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you think that Shelf conducted himself in a proper way here? I would say so. So now we're getting back into the other screenshots that were included in that second part of Pirate Software's announcement, talking about and alleging the doxing. And these are the other three as they're all relevant to the same person. So JayeGlow, that was in my Discord, said, nah, all you need is a weather map of the precipitation that day and the time he posted it online. Now, Pirate has blocked these out. And then Jay says, see the rain, LMAO. And then he follows up, yes, also because there's a rock in the background of the one he posted. So here, JayeGlow is specifically talking about finding where Pirate Software lives. But what is he specifically talking about? Like, what is he referencing here with something about, precipitation and the time he posted it online? What is that? That's referencing a picture that Pirate Software himself posted. Editor Connor here, trying to give a bit more context. So the images that you're seeing here, I have censored the date of which they were posted because I'm trying to be respectful and not allowing, how JayeGlow described he found Pirate's address to be directly included in this video. But just so we're all clear, this wasn't like we pulled these out of an archive. These tweets are still fully public on Pirate Software's Twitter. The whole reason I'm making a point of that is it will be important later. But back to the video. What you're looking at right now is Pirate Software on his stream looking on his own Twitter to show people a tweet that he himself posted, which was a picture of his mailbox. I'm just gonna play the clip for a bit so you can see what he's talking about, just give you a general understanding of what JayeGlow is talking about here.
This is a federal crime. This is not just randomly backing up into it. It is not an accident. It is not at all. It got hit from multiple angles, multiple times. This is a federal crime. I charged it directly at all of the people that were involved, the company that was involved. I know everyone that was involved, and we have pictures of everything. So they can eat my whole ass, and Comcast sucks.
Here's another clip of him talking about it with different photos of his mailbox.
But no, they smashed the shit out of it. They smashed it in the front, they smashed it in the side, and they smashed it in the back. There are dents all over it from multiple angles, showing that it was intent. It was not just somebody backing up to it, into it with their car. It was an intentional attack in the mailbox because I bitched about them, breaking fire code in front of my house and blocking access to my property.
JayeGlow completely removed using he said he ran like a script to delete all of his messages from the server. That wasn't us. And so I would show you guys the specific messages where those were the instances, those were the photos used, the mailbox images that Pirate Software himself publicly showed not only on his stream, but publicly posted on his Twitter. Now, I'm assuming these two messages here specifically are containing those images, the see the rain LMAO, or yes, also because there's a rock in the background of the one he posted. So number one, Pirate Software is censoring the images that he himself posted publicly to make it look like he is doing something incredibly malicious here by showing the photos. And he's making it seem like he's just sending straight up pictures of the dude's house with his mailbox out front, which is not true. But he did use Google Streets View and took a photo of, I'm assuming, based on Pirate's reaction, Pirate's mailbox. And you know what JayeGlow did? He censored it. In fact, he censored it in the same way that Pirate did with censoring his mailbox numbers, things like that. He did the exact same thing. Him talking about all you need is a weather map of the precipitation that day and the time that he posted it online, see the rain, so this stuff. So he's clearly explaining in kind of ways, like he's not giving direct location of the place, but he's saying, hey, all you need is a weather map of the precipitation and like all this stuff. I don't like that. If I was awake and alert and seeing this message at that time in the same way that any of my mods were, we would have jumped in on this and said, hey, not okay. Like, let's not even get into this realm because there's no point. There was no utility to him going over any of this. Now he provides, he did show me these images, incredibly cropped corners of something from a Pirate Software video showing his ferret rescue. It says, yeah, definitely the same place, space above ferret can most likely. And then he says, also notice the way it's cemented into the ground in the gravel road, talking about the mailbox. Then he says, actually a very big house, not gonna lie. And then this fully, completely censored image. You'll have to take me at my word for this because Pirate clearly doesn't want to. And if he hasn't shown these outside of that video that I'm referencing, if he hasn't shown these images, then I'm not gonna share them either because clearly he is not happy with that. But those images that are being censored out, those are incredibly zoomed in and heavily cropped images showing corner points of a house that he was looking at on, maybe he like searched up a website for it. He doesn't confirm that. So the images themselves are not providing actual docs information. It's a corner of the room. That's really creepy. As a matter of fact, there were people reaching out to JayeGlow to get private information. And from what he told me, he was saying no to that. I'll read a message that he sent me kind of in response to all this happening. But everything that I'm looking at right now, every image that I am shown that he has sent to me that has been included, if not coming directly from Pirate Software, is showcasing a heavily zoomed in, heavily cropped like corner of an image to like make a point about either the mailbox or he's talking about the ferret rescue. He does not give any concrete details about anything other than the fact that, oh, I think I found this thing. While I firmly believe that this isn't doxing, it's still something that I wouldn't want on my Discord. I don't want people kind of touting around and flexing that they know where Pirate Software lives or where his ferret rescue is. I think that's really shitty behavior and it doesn't do anything to contribute to having a community or, you know, having information that is useful for any video that I was putting out. But here is the message that JayeGlow sent me, and this was edited as of July 25th, so just wanted to show that to confirm with you guys. So he says, good afternoon, Quinn. I just wanted to start off by apologizing for all the hardship I have caused. I should have deleted more than I already had before when it comes to things, and even though PS himself posted that, it wasn't okay for me to post said edited thing as well. And so he is showing me what he sent to my other moderator as a message. Here he's just quoting a message that I had put out into the chat, and then he says, I agree that PS is misrepresenting the facts. No one publicly gave an address, and I made offhand remarks. PS blocked out the already cropped photos as if I posted them fully, address and all, which is not the case. PS's people cherry-picked said messages and made it a whole narrative that never happened and skipped over the many times I've been asked and contacted by people for information and have said, no, I don't do that. I have since coded a script that wiped every message that I've sent from your server. He goes on to say that he thinks that Pirate's Discord and his mods, they're literally hypocrites, and he goes on to talk about something else. He doesn't make as strong of an argument here as I would agree with, but continuing on, he says, again, I'm sorry for being a bad light onto you, your server and the members, and the mods for the thing I posted in the past. If there's anything I can do to make things right, please let me know and I will. And so I asked, hey, did you have the screenshots of the messages you had sent? We'll need those to provide context of the surrounding messages and what was in the images and messages he censored. Now, truly, end of the day, I would love to show you guys these images to prove that because I genuinely believe that none of these are providing doxing information. Now, this is my opinion, because I can't really find any legal precedent for doxing. I can find it for harassment that came from like providing this information. For example, if the doxing was done intentionally to get someone harassed or like physically harmed, something like that. It is my opinion that the information, the photos that JayeGlow showed, not only didn't share any other information in them, were also censored, but thirdly, didn't get followed up with like, hey, let's do something about this. There was no call to action. There was no saying, hey, let's harass. There was no actual information provided that would have assisted anyone in doing that with the photos that he provided. Outside of a few of them actually linking back to his original tweet that is still public of him showing his own mailbox. I don't think any of the photos that he ended up censoring and saying was doxing is doxing at all. Now, number one, do I think it's okay behavior to be instructing people on how to find somebody's address going off of their own public information that they posted? No, I think that's weird and cringe. And that has been repeated multiple times in my Discord, but we will get there. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Pirate is shaping this and censoring images to make it look like it is so much worse. Like there's actual weight to the claims that he's making. There isn't. There is at no point been a leak of Pirate Software's address in this Discord. Discord. Some people, like JayeGlow or a couple other individuals, have said that they have found Pirate Software's address off of, number one, Pirate's own images, his own information. But number two, they're not posting these images in the Discord, not in the ones that Pirate had censored out, nor anything that was in the Discord. Completely censored in the way that it was, not reverse image searchable. The only way that we could actually confirm that, oh yeah, that is for sure, Pirate's mailbox, is because he's making this response. And I will say that if any of us had seen these images at the time, they would have been deleted anyway because none of this info had anything to do with anything that was going on. Some people were looking into the legitimacy of the ferret rescue that Pirate's running. I haven't found anything that is worthwhile enough to go over with that fact, but I do agree that there's no utility, there's no actual usefulness to showing any of this. Whether it is a dox or not, I don't want it in my Discord, and had I seen it, had my mod seen it, it would have been removed. I keep hinting at things. I'm sorry that this is all over the place. I am getting a little heated. I'm gonna get more into that after we finish this last third post from Pirate Software. So this is the last one. Now I start messaging in my own Discord and he responds to it live during the same time. No, Quintheo, my address is not public information, and your users are distributing it on your Discord while the mods encourage it. They didn't just go after me and Shay either, they went after our moderation team too, as shown here. This is that first message of me saying, wait, it's literally public info, I'm so confused, and Shelf saying that's wild. This is that other image of Jayop saying, oh god, it's real. And then last is JayeGlow saying, brother, I also found Chronos based on a bird and tabletop game, so I'm just going to keep adding to my folders if anyone needs me. Now, number one, JayeGlow gloating about him finding Chronos based on a bird tabletop game, think that's weird. This is the message that JayeGlow was responding to here. Guys, I was a red team specialist for 7 years and I once found this guy's address from a photo of his mailbox. That was him making fun of JayeGlow because they thought it was kind of silly. Some other people were calling him a LARPer for figuring out where he lived because there was nothing of worth to gain from that other than feeling good about yourself for finding it. And so JayeGlow was replying to that as seemingly kind of ego checking Jayop. Now, while I agree, I don't think that this is something that you should be flaunting around or acting like you have some info, which could totally get people to ask you about said info. And it is something that should not be tolerated in the Discord. I completely agree with that. While not directly doxing Pirate Software, it's still weird to tote it around as a prize or showcasing that you're smart. But more than that, just to, cover our bases with this last message, his address was not doxed. It was not shown in my Discord ever. And your users are distributing it on your Discord. Not true. His address was never distributed on my Discord. And then he says, well, the mods encourage it. But I have proof that they have never once encouraged this. So I've said this multiple times that, what I've been going over, some of the points that have been made, although not doxing, still not super comfortable with it. Still don't think that it should have been on my Discord at all. I wouldn't agree with the same reasoning that Pirate was giving, that his private information was being released to the public. But I think, yeah, it's cringe behavior. You shouldn't be flaunting that stuff. You shouldn't really even be getting close to that. It's not necessary to anything that we're going over. Editor Connor yet again, because I made a really intense jump cut and didn't quite explain going into it. So just so we understand, I am now cutting into and talking more about my mod team and their experience throughout this insane growth that the channel's had, and more specifically that the Discord has had. So just want to make sure we know what we're getting into. I don't want it to be just taken as an excuse. I just want you guys to have the full context of what, these 4 or 5 people, if we're including myself, were put up against in the last couple of weeks. I have a mod team, technically, my branch managers, those are my moderators, of 9 people. And then minus about 3 or 4, because my brother's included, and then I'm also not including people that just really have not been active during the pirate stuff. So realistically, 4 to 5 people that are assisting me with moderation voluntarily. They're doing this for free, out of the goodness of their heart, because they like me. Because they're willing to put in time out of their days to help me. They're doing it for free. I'm not paying them, so I wouldn't expect that they're going to be on 24/7. And we went from a pretty dead Discord server, about 500 people, and I say dead because it was just, there was not a lot of movement. It all had come from last year's growth on the channel, to in just a bit over a week and a half, 2 weeks, jumping to almost 1,500 people. We have 1,300 now. So the Discord is nearly tripled in size at this point, and these volunteer people who have genuinely redoubled their efforts and are helping me out and helping me every single step of the way here, they're doing doing this part-time. They can't keep up with the new volume. And like, you can blame me. I should have been able to maybe look towards trying to find more people to moderate. But again, I can only really do this for free at this point. I'm still pretty small, even with this like huge growth month with talking about pirate software. But to give you guys reference, this is 13 days ago, but we had to freeze it, I think 4 or 5 days ago now. So this post had been up for a little over a week and had 41,000 messages sent through it. That's a couple thousand a day. And we got lucky. We have some people in different time zones, like people can hop in at different points. If something was going on early in the morning, maybe we've got one person to kind of handle it, but it's not enough. And truly, like for this stuff that I wouldn't have approved of had I seen it, I'm sorry that it's there, because I don't want that to be reflective of my community, but we just didn't keep up. We couldn't find every single instance of someone, like for instance, JayeGlow, like flexing that he figured out who Kronos was based off of like the board game or whatever it was. Personally, I wouldn't blame a bunch of people who have pretty much never moderated, if very little, especially when I was doing the Mr. Beast stuff last year, like nothing to this volume. I wouldn't blame them for missing a couple of messages in lieu of 40,000 through a week. I would have removed them, because why the fuck are you posting pictures of his mailbox? Like, congrats, you found him on Google Images. There's no reason for them to have been doing it other than to like flex and show that they could. It didn't help any discourse around any of the drama related to Pirate, his behavior, anything like that. So it wasn't useful. It should have been deleted. And like for that side of it, yeah, that's stupid. I'm sorry that we weren't more vigilant about it. And so for the point that I'm making specifically, yes, they should have been deleted, because even then you're getting close to an area where you're starting to enter a potential dox, which I also don't think is okay. Matter of fact, my entire mod team doesn't think that's okay. But now let's really dig into that. Were my mods encouraging people to dox Pirate in my Discord? I'm gonna attach some screenshots coming from me, the rest of my moderation team, and let you guys decide. So here you can see me responding to actually JayeGlow. This info is just unnecessary at this point. His resume has already been looked at in depth, and we have no reason to look into his employees, etc. Someone else had said, I could see how this could cross into territory it should not, i.e. doxing, but I feel that they could use this in earnest to confirm things that it's useful, but it has big potential to be abused. But then again, someone shouldn't have information in public if they don't want it found. I can see how this is a very slippery slope though, and if they want to clamp down on it, then I understand entirely. I replied back to them and said, if there isn't something that directly relates to this information, it is far more concerning to go deeply into this info without having a good reason. We don't need to plaster what could lead to harassment of people around Pirate, and Pirate himself for that matter, for the sake of doing research. And I think they were talking about the employees of Pirate here, and they said, to be honest, some of them deserve it. I said, you can think that. This isn't the place to do it though. Shelf replied, I know they are public information, but let's not brigade the information of every single person in Pirate Software's circle of people, especially uploading them here. We do not condone this behavior. As bad as Pirate is, we don't believe in holding malice towards the people working for him / is friends with him. And then I said, there's a difference between someone there saying they should report videos, which there was somebody in his Discord saying they should report my videos, and someone just being ignorant to info that has come out. And then during this individual was replying to someone saying, I mean, we have been stalking his Discord just to shit on his server members. Someone else tried to defend that, saying that's for memes and banter though, that's different. And I replied back, it's still harassment regardless, and I think that individual who made this message makes a good point. I had noticed that there were people in my Discord that were talking about members of Pirate Software's Discord and making fun of them, and like, oh my god, I can't believe they're defending him, or using this excuse, this one, and it ends up just being harassment because you're just pointing and laughing at these people. There's nothing useful to come out of that. We know exactly what's going on. Like, I'm covering Pirate, I'm talking about his stuff, I'm not just pointing and laughing at him, I'm going into detail about what he's doing that's really stupid, or whatever lie he's made that day, and I'm going over and taking a look at it and then giving you guys the information. Back to the messages though. Someone said, I'm just talking shit about it at most. I mean, I'm not partaking in harassment. And then this other individual said, I was guilty of that in regard to the being, harassing his Discord members. And they said, we'll not do so anymore. I said, don't get me wrong. There's utility in doing research and presenting shit so we can figure shit out. But the info we are sharing is getting to a point where it's getting really invasive and not providing nearly as much utility. And then I replied to Shanoa and said, I was doing it too. Because in my Discord, I was also like having a jab at some of the Discord members on Pirate server, because some of the members are like, oh, I should go report Quintheo's videos for bullying or harassment, whatever it was. And so I joined along and giving shit to some of the Discord members. It was a reflective moment that it was like, there's no use to that. Like, I was personally butthurt about it because they were like saying they were going to target me, and I let my emotion get the best of me in that moment. And then down here at the very bottom, this individual says, I agree, it's a slippery slope. Continuing on, Shelf says, I get it's answering questions, you're completely fine to do so. We just don't condone sending in their information, public or not. You can freely do that in the confines on DMs and such, but not here. I say this as well, but I need to put a foot down and make a ground rule that we can't dive into info and share it with the expectation that people will treat it with maturity. And I would say scope-wise, it's getting to a point where even making a video on it isn't useful since it's getting so hyper-specific. And then I continued on to say also journalistic integrity, which I did not go to college for, to be clear, and I'll continue that message later, but Shelf also says the potential observation from a third party could be that we're sending this information with malice or with the intent to make fun of them. And so I'm pretty sure this is a part of that journalistic integrity, this specific part that I'm about to read out. If there are innocent people that are getting hit in the crossfire of bringing info to light, you need to make sure you mitigate that damage done. That was in regard to the LinkedIn profile showcasing like Pirate Software's employees, and I was like, I don't think that's useful. It's not really providing any information to any of like these big drama points that Pirate has been involved in. And so these people are going to get impacted potentially for no reason. And if you can avoid negatively impacting people in this sort of way, you should do that as like a journalist. Now I know I'm not a journalist, but I just also think that's a good rule of thumb. Now someone had said something along the lines of, oh, so now you're policing what people can and can't research, something like that. Like who gives you the authority to tell people what they can and can't research? And so Shelf replied first, we're not telling them they can't look into it. We just think it's sad when they do this and we don't allow it here. And then I replied as well, it's my channel and I'm Quintheo. Like, I don't know why you're asking like who you are. Like it's my Discord. Those are the rules I want people to follow. And so I say down here also, I'm not telling you not to look into it. And I follow up saying, I'm saying don't do it here, where spreading that info can cause issues for surrounding people of Pirate Software. These messages are from another mod over the course of, you know, these last couple weeks here. They say, yo, just a quick thing, but just due to the sheer volume of messages going on in this channel, 35,000 messages in under a week is insane. Moderators are bound to miss things. So if you see something being posted that's against the rules or you want moderator eyes on or something, please ping or DM a moderator. They ended up pinning that message and then said, yeah, I mean, that's the problem, LMAO. 35,000 messages of fine discussion and the occasional dog shit that needs to be slapped down. And then a separate message here. One thing I do want to make clear is that it's entirely fine to discuss ongoing drama and the people involved. It's fine to do research and find more out, but where it would cross a line that would lead to trouble is if people started organizing group action against anyone, witch hunts, brigading, planning things to adversely affect people, etc. So please keep that in mind. Feel free to look into things, but please don't share personal information like addresses or discuss anything that could be sensitive or private. If you have something that could be problematic to share, feel free to run it by a mod or staff member. And then another here, this is Quintheo server. It's a place for his viewer base to come talk about shit and whatever, but ultimately the community of a creator is at least in part their responsibility and reflects on them. So yes, you can talk about the subject of Q's content and discuss/criticize, but this isn't a place to hurl shit for hurling shit's sake. So yes, we are going to shut down stuff when it gets a little much. Here again is a soothsayer who also is going by this name, who's also Satan's concubine, like all three of these. It's the same person, they just changed their name a lot. And in this message, they were specifically talking about, there's a good chunk of people that are saying online, well, because Pirate is a furry and he had like a ferret fursona, him having a ferret rescue is like a conflict of interest. And I think that's a load of bullshit. And so they were kind of saying the same thing here, saying, just to further comment on the furry thing, what specifically we discussed and decided was that we were seeing too much of a X is a furry, so they must Y, i.e. leading onto zoophilia or other explicit stuff, and the concern is that it could read or be intended as an attack on the furry community as a whole. You can have your personal feelings about furries, it's all valid, but there's enough shit to be talking about where extending it to that just to shit on someone is unnecessary. And now here's that same moderator here. Oh, sick, I'd say write it up in the thread, then link forward your post to news links for visibility. This is someone talking about that they ran a WoW guild, Goblins of Thorcraft, and they wanted to post their experience. And so this person replied to that same individual that was talking about it earlier, saying, are we just trying to find every conversation he has ever had at this point? And then my mod responded, anyone with direct experience or things to share is always welcome to share it. Now this individual ended up replying back to the mod saying, I didn't state anything to the contrary, but I thought this was a drama channel, not a Thor snark server, lol. I didn't realize we were just here to dox every private or semi-private convo ever just for the sake of content. My mod responds, yeah, ideally stuff about PS should go in the thread now, but it's new and it's slow hours. No doxing will be tolerated, of course. They replied back, releasing contents of private chat is tantamount to doxing, but you're just splitting a semantic hair at this point. Just don't cry when the mob turns on you. If you like it now, you should certainly like it more when you're the subject. Mod replies, depends on the information shared in the messages in my opinion, but that's just me. Then this individual replied again, I don't like Thor, but some of the hateful shit is getting weird here. We are pro leaking private convos, so assuredly you never had a private convo you wanted leaked. Glad to know you're transcendent of humanity in that way. Homeboy's gonna take the final bow and it's gonna be all of our faults. Wait until this message is the thumbnail. And then down here, Soothsayer says, the mods will review it if/when it is posted, and I'll bring it up in the staff channel for more eyes on it now. So that individual clearly had a firm belief that leaking a private conversation is tantamount to doxing. I would disagree with him based on Merriam's definition of it, unless it, of course, provided someone's address, something like that. But regardless, here are some examples from my head mod, Mother. Now, it doesn't mean that they are on the most or anything, it just means that they've done the most help with me with the server, like in regards to setting it up, having bots prepared, everything like that. So just need you to understand that too. But going into this, these are snippets, and also this has to do with the fact that people were going really deep into the ferret rescue that Pirate Software has. A lot of people were making broad strokes or just making assumptions that the ferrets weren't being taken care of properly. And so me and a couple other people, including Mother, as you're going to see here, are going to say, that's really stupid. You're just pulling that out of your ass and you don't have proof that they're being mistreated. And that's not all of these messages, but to continue on, she says, to me, someone who is very disconnected from this entire situation, it just feels like this guy can't do anything right without everything about it being dissected and nitpicked. And then this next message, I'm not against the conversation, and I'm sure there's something of substance, but there's so much hate for this guy, and it's insane to me. Other messages that they have here, that's fine, but attacking the rescue in itself is stupid. They go on to say, of all things to attack him about, this is the dumbest shit to attack him about, since overall it's a good thing that he's doing. She continues on, this is actual hive mind and witch hunt behavior. Let the dude do something decent and leave him alone about this. She then says, literally, it feels like this Davy Jones guy can't do anything that's considered good without you all literally nitpicking to find fault with everything he does. How does this not exhaust you? The animals are clearly well taken care of, so I cannot and will not see the big deal in the ferret rescue of all things. This is from one of my other mods, Boy Tiger. They were replying to someone named V. Now, there's a lot more context to this, but essentially V had come in and was disagreeing with Coding Jesus. They weren't being super tactful. They would talk in circles and just kind of dismiss any point that you proved them wrong on, etc. But Boy Tiger said this after truly a couple hours of them kind of arguing with people in what seemed to be like rage bait. They say, yo, baby mod here. V, you are not technically breaking the rules of the server. However, the way that you are communicating is upsetting to much of this channel, and when that becomes apparent, you seem to continue to ask questions that frustrate others. Not everyone will get along, but this is a warning about having discussions that add to the channel. Now, admittedly, you might have seen it earlier in the video, but I had that huge announcement separating threads, and this was actually part of why we ended up doing that, because there was a difference between what I wanted, which was useful conversation and discussion around more of the relevant Pirate Software drama that had been going down, versus what another good chunk of people wanted, which was just shooting the shit casual discussion and sending memes. So we ended up splitting the two. And I'll admit, even with how Boy Tiger's talking about it here, we were at odds with kind of what I wanted, what I told the mods that we wanted, versus people having conversations about old stuff that wasn't really relevant anymore, like what V was doing, talking about the coding stuff. Editor Connor here again, because I don't think I really fleshed out this point of why I'm talking about this as well. But another big reason that we had split the thread up into these two separate parts was we wanted to make sure that it was easier for the mods to moderate. Like I've already said, we had a really small team. So for the info thread, we turned it onto slow mode, and that's pretty much where we can provide all the useful information and kind of dissect that as it's coming out. And then the memes thread, that was the one that the mods could really more so focus on, since the other one was much slower, made it easier to moderate. And we assumed that the memes chat, the discussion forum, was going to be easier to moderate then, since we kind of had everyone in one place. Obviously, it still was very difficult as there were a lot of people and only a few mods, but we were trying to make active changes to make it easier for the mod team, as well as just to make sure we caught things in general. It wasn't like we were just sitting by the sidelines and not making any adjustments at all. And I want to make it clear, because I can catch myself getting defensive here and there, I do apologize for allowing that kind of information, like JayeGlow or anybody else, sending or even hinting at having, personal addresses or knowing where people live, locations like that. I'm sorry that those weren't deleted, that those weren't found out and removed, because I don't want that in my community. And I want to point out and show the ways that we are making changes to the server, because I want to make it clear that even though I disagree with Pirate about, him saying that there's doxed information in the stuff that he censored, I don't think that conversations like that are okay regardless. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Enjoy the rest of the video. And on top of that, I think that Boy Tiger was incredibly respectful to this individual. And this is another moderator here, Boy Tiger, and they were replying to people because people were bringing up info about the ferrets. And so they replied to someone saying, agreed, we're actively asking members to dial down rescue speculation. There's a lot of gray area here, and the amount of digging versus reward has been very little from what I've seen. To the best of my knowledge, Quinn hasn't and won't be making content on this specific topic. Now this one right here here is from one of my other mods. Now they've named themselves Satan, but they are not relating to themselves in this message. And this was in our own moderator chat. They said there are limits to that shit. Like the issue with them is that they are convinced that obviously that guy is Satan. So it must mean that this completely different thing he does besides shit coding is absolutely horrendous and evil. Even my mods are recognizing and like talking to each other and sharing with each other that, yeah, some people are being shitheads. So we've had to like ban them because they're just hating Pirate to hate him. There's no actual use, which we don't think is okay. We're not agreeing with it, as you see from this mod. Now, would you say, based off the evidence that I've just provided you, that my moderation team or me are seeming to just be comfortable allowing people to dox? Would you even say that we're encouraging people, or just my moderation team, maybe he wasn't specifically talking about me, my moderation team, are they encouraging people to dox Pirate Software? Doesn't look like it to me. All I'm getting is he saw the shelf-related, joke about, ooh, let me get the tea early, and then just made a huge assumption about the rest of the moderation team. Because everything that I've seen, and a lot of what my community has seen, is that no, we don't put up with doxing. And even if it starts entering the potential of it being doxing, we don't think it's okay. And yes, like, we are going to miss things. That is the nature of the fact that I've got volunteer people that are just doing what they can with the free time that they're choosing to pump into helping me. Like, I'm lucky that I have these people in the first place. Last thing, and this is something that I never planned to share publicly. It genuinely wasn't until now he wants to come after my moderation team, say we're encouraging doxing, the likes. Let me show you guys a message that I had sent Pirate a couple weeks ago now. This was on July 11th. Hey, I'm writing to you not to start any shit, but this is completely off record. You don't even need to respond. Someone messaged me talking about some drama surrounding you from this week, but they also included that there was this possible info that could dox you that's currently public. They didn't want to dox you. They tried reaching out to your mod team first before they messaged me. Now I'm going to block out this part because I'm including information that I think might be a dox to him, but I say the guy told me apparently you can get this info privated if you reach out to your attorney that would have helped you file it. And then I go on and I just don't want to provide that to give people an understanding of what's going on there. And I said, regardless of if I like/respect you or vice versa, swatting is fucked, and I just needed to make sure you saw this in case it is an actual problem. Here's a link to the website with the information like leading to potentially your address. And again, this has nothing to do with drama, and whether you believe it or not, I'm genuinely sorry that you've been swatted. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. I fully planned to never share that. I believe the day after Pirate Software said that I was still in his DMs rage baiting him. And like, I was irritated by that, but like, whatever. Maybe he was just going to take the information, then like private the info, whatever. But instead, he turns around and says that I'm allowing people to dox him in my Discord, that I'm either choosing to be complacent or my mods are encouraging it. And I'm just baffled at how, after seeing something like this, maybe he doesn't think I'm acting in good faith, whatever, don't give a fuck. I'm baffled that you'd see me do something like this and then turn it around and try to make an accusation like you just did. He wants to say that I'm lying about stuff. I'm not. I can speculate about things and I can prove that they are just speculation, and I can follow up and admit when I'm wrong. Just give it a try once. And if he'd like to dispute any of the arguments that have been covered in any of my videos, I would love to see the evidence provided. Still waiting to see from Kronos if he'll show me when he edited that message prior to his DMs with the hype train thing. I'd happily make that public. I was happy to make the fact that my terms of service assumptions of him breaking terms of service were wrong. Like I showed you at the beginning of the video, covered it 2 separate times. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm not afraid to make it very clear with you guys when I'm not sure if something's true or not. I'll let you know when he's lying because I can prove it. Pirate Software is telling people that the moderation team is encouraging doxing. He even said that his doxes were showing up on my Discord, which was provably wrong. The only evidence he had to show for it was censored images, not a fucking dox. You put your mailbox out there publicly, and it still is today. I'm so confused at why you're going to censor messages that were showing your own information, your own photos that you had taken. As we close this out, I had this whole ramble that I was gonna give, essentially just telling Pirate, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't really be in the place that I am as a YouTuber if he just fucking played Noida and stopped addressing drama and didn't put a ban counter in the corner of his streams. But I'm cutting that because I think it's just indulgent. I'm already kind of getting down that rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna do that because it's just indulgent. There's no need for it. I think the people that I share this information to probably understand that, and we also understand that even if I did that, it wouldn't do anything for Pirate, so I won't do it. It's not worth it. But this brings this video to a close. I don't think I have anything else that's useful to provide to this response. We'll be back to posting pretty much daily, if not every other day, and I'll see you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.